Coming up on Tech News Today, we'll talk about the best of CES with CNET Editor-in-Chief Lindsey Turrentine. Also, a spat between Microsoft and Google on Twitter. And do you smell hashtags in here? There's a new Twitter device you're going to want to hear about. All of that and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, January 12th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 30% off your new account for 3 months, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT1. And by Ford, featuring all electric and hybrid electric technologies. Learn more about the technologies Ford is bringing to its vehicles at Ford.com/technology. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And this is day 700 of CES 2012 coverage.
Sure feels that way. You even put on a tie.
Yeah, well,
it's like you're going to start to take it seriously.
We're going to the IAWTV Award. We're nominated for the IAWTV Award.
It's
so
true.
I didn't want to have to change clothes, basically. Will Harris joining us from Channel Flip as well. Good to see you in the flesh.
Hey, Will.
As we do every year at CES.
It's so exciting to be here and not on the other side of the ocean. It's lovely.
Excellent.
But you're missing the halo you normally have behind
Yeah,
you. You need a lamp right here.
I don't have the halo, although I do feel a little bit underdressed.
Well, and that's a switch. Usually it's
next
opposite.
to Iyaz here. It's,
I feel like I should be running for office. I need a flag pin or something. Also joining us for our first story, Lindsey Turrentine, Editor-in-Chief of CNET Reviews. A former co-worker. Good to have you, Lindsey.
It's really great to be here and see you guys.
How's your CES been treating you?
Well, this is day 10 of an 11-day work week.
Uh-huh.
And I'm here, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm still smiling. It's great.
You're upright, you're
There's
breathing.
been a lot of energy.
CNET had their big official Best of CES awards this morning. Who won Best of Show?
LG won with their 55-inch OLED TV.
That is actually what my bet was on. It's either going to be Samsung or LG. I thought one of the OLED TVs.
You know, it was really close, like nearly a coin toss.
Between those two?
Between those two. For the winner of that category, and then the winner of that category advances to the big final decision. But we had more detail and a release date for the LG TV, and honestly, when you talk about what's being released at CES, release date is king.
Kind of makes all the difference.
We know we'll get it. And sometimes it happens, you know, things are released at CES, they look fantastic, and they never show up.
Was it hard to pick the awards this year? It seems like the general feeling is there's not a lot that blows people away.
Unlike in past, sometimes when we're picking these awards, we fight like crazy about this. We get in the CNET edit trailer out in the parking lot, and we arm wrestle.
Yeah.
This time it was by a landslide. We saw, there was a lot of interesting stuff on the show floor, but nothing that was wildly.
Right. Some of the other 10 categories. Some of the other categories, obviously LG wins in the television category. One that surprised me was the Asus Memo 370T in the tablet category.
That was a price point choice.
What? Oh, because of the bargain. How much does it run for?
$250.
$250.
We thought it was just a great, okay, here it is. These full-featured tablets are starting to come down to Kindle Fire price range, and that's going to even the playing field. So that's why we picked it. But it wasn't the show for tablets we had hoped it would be, frankly.
I thought the HP Envy Spectre should have won Best Looking if there had been a category. It won in the PC category.
It's
gorgeous
beautiful.
laptop.
Yeah,
I got to finally get my hands on it and play with it a little this morning.
I think one of the take-homes from this show is Gorilla Glass. This is a huge year for Gorilla Glass.
Yeah, Gorilla Glass 2.0 came out, and they're putting Gorilla Glass in places.
In everything. In your toothbrush.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the top of the Spectre for no real reason.
Right.
For example.
Smooth.
But it's shiny.
It looks good.
I mean, that's great. I mean, it matches on the back for some reason. It's supposed to be, wireless technologies in the HP Spectre are supposed to work better there. I just think it looks gimmicky. You want to put glass on everything, it's like, yeah, it's shiny. It's going to be a fingerprint magnet
Yeah,
again.
but you're also going to have, like when you're using the laptop, it's going to be a little bit hot. You get, a little sweaty palm effect, and that's not going to be a good look on glass, is it, really?
But it's easier to wipe off.
It's
little
true.
Windex.
We'll just make it latex and go the whole way.
It'll be great for things like this, where it's on camera. It'd be a great TV.
Yeah.
Or you just get used to it, like my iPad, which is just smudgy all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even see it anymore.
You just kind of live with it, with the disgusting sort of germiness of it. It's fine.
It's a cesspool, really. Yay, Gorilla Glass.
BlueStacks app player, I know was one that had us both excited.
I want to go see this. I mean, this is the application, or I think it's called App Player, that allows Android applications to run on Windows 8 side by side. Like, I still haven't been able to go to their booth to see it actually working. I'm excited about it.
And Simple TV, which you were a champion of earlier in the week, won in its category for home theater.
Oh, that's good. Simple TV is that $150 device that acts as a sort of a DVR. Doesn't have a hard drive, has that single tuner, I think. I think that's kind of a letdown. It's only one tuner instead of two, because you can't watch one thing and record another. You have to watch what you're recording or back. But like it's a good start, I think.
But it's really, I mean, I love this thing, by the way, and I'm going to pre-order one.
Yeah, Molly Wood was saying it was her favorite.
Well, it's maybe not my favorite. We're talking about my personal. It's really interesting to me. The thing that's cool about it is that you can put it somewhere else. It doesn't have to be next to your TV, right? You just hook it up to the internet and you stick it in the back of your house somewhere, and then for $5 extra a month, you can watch this content on any screen.
Yeah.
So it's some sort of combination DVR and
Sling
Sling
kind of
And
thing.
that
Yeah.
slings to or sends video to like Roku boxes and other devices. So you don't have to do like when I want to watch something on Roku that's on my local library that I've recorded. That's not easy. It takes a lot of extra work to do that, and this makes it a lot more simple.
Yeah, or if you have something like, I don't know, a vacation house or something where all you have is the internet and a Roku,
That's all you
just
need.
throw all your TV to it, and it's not a very expensive solution. So that's cool.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit before we let you go about how you decide this stuff. Tell us about the process, because you've got all the editors, all the different beats getting together.
So we have 60 editors, a huge number of people here at the show. We have a lot of people who specialize in categories. So there are beat editors who specialize in tablets. Those editors, they go out and find all interesting tablet news at the show, and then they work together. They kind of get together in their own small group and decide what their finalists are. We choose 3 finalists for each category, and then they pick a winner themselves. They kind of have a committee style. The last couple of years we've done something kind of interesting, which is that we don't set the categories for the finalists until we're done writing.
No kidding.
So we just kind of say, if we see something new, it didn't happen so much at this show, but if we had a giant flying toys, if there was more than the Parrot AR drone, right? If we decided that
or if Ultrabooks were more different than the PC category.
Exactly.
You
We'll
wanted to
just
break them out.
create a category on the fly and then
Yeah.
choose within that.
That's a smart way to do it.
So then once we have all of those category winners, we all get together in our edit trailer out in the parking lot and we just duke it out.
Yeah.
Each person does a pitch for what they think should win, and then we vote.
Are you the referee?
I'm sometimes the tiebreaker.
You're the tie. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the Joe Biden of the Senate of. You're not Joe Biden.
That was a
It's
harsh one
okay.
right there.
It's okay. I'll take it. It's really fun to listen to, because sometimes there are categories that I just haven't gotten a chance to see. I didn't get a chance to see the 3D printers that were out here, and we're so excited about the MakerBot.
I was so happy that the Replicator won. That was great. I loved Repedis. I loved MakerBot.
It's just so inspiring. I mean, what I've been thinking about is, okay, in the last 10 years, we've all become self-publishers because this technology is so accessible to us, but now we can all become inventors.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to know a friend with CAD. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, well, the internet has done that for so many things. Computers have done that for so many things. I don't have to go to the hard work. I just have to have the idea, and that's another step along that road, physical objects.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Well, Lindsey, I know you got a busy schedule. We got to let you go. Thanks for stopping by, though, and
Thank you for
chatting
having
with
me.
us. Appreciate you. Lindsey Turrentine, Editor-in-Chief, CNET Reviews, and you can find the best of CES and all their coverage at cnet.com.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Let's move on to Microsoft announcing it now has an Android patent deal with LG for phones. That makes it so that, well, they say 70% of all Android smartphones sold in the U.S. are covered by a Microsoft patent. And if that wasn't enough, they went on Twitter and started poking Google. Frank Shaw, Microsoft's VP of Corporate Communications, said, "Hey, Google, we are the 70%, which, I don't know if corporations want to be appropriating Occupy Wall Street.
Hey, corporations are people too, so
Rhetoric.
you should know
This
that.
is also-
Under the law, yeah, they are. Right?
This is also a tweet that was sent 8 hours ago and hasn't been taken down.
I thought it was an accident. Maybe it was supposed to say we're at,
But 8
not
hours.
where we are.
But if it was
Oh,
sent
no, I
8
think-
hours ago, that's what, like 4 o'clock in the morning. How drunk was he at the time? Surely. 4 a.m. tweets. We've all been there, but we've all had the sense to take them down the next day.
Yeah, exactly. Then Frank Shaw continued. He said, can we just agree to drop the patents as weapons meme? When effective licensing enables companies to share IP, the metaphor falls apart.
Then there's one more from Brad Smith, Microsoft's VP for Legal Affairs. I liked this one. Here we go. It's time to recognize that in #patent world, lawsuits are the 1%, license agreements are the 99%.
This is just such a bad route to go down.
No, but whether you want to do the numbers or not, you're going to obviously it's going to be compared to the Occupy movement. But this
why
is actually
it
how
obviously compared to the Occupy movement?
Well, that's
just
just
the one-
it.
the
Like,
one-
there's this
it's
like
such a-
revolution
No, but I'm
against
saying-
like inequality, and suddenly you're like trying to equate it to like patent
No,
lawsuits in like commercial
I think
license.
the point
Yeah.
of this
Makes
tweet,
no sense.
the point of the tweet was that this is the case in almost, maybe if it's been like 90-10.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the licensing agreements is what happens at the end of these things. People don't stop making products. They work deals out. It's not, every time we do this with patent wars, it's like, this is going to end in an agreement. It always ends in an agreement.
I guess I just see this mudslinging on Twitter, and it seems really juvenile to me. And something that you'd think someone upstairs would say, well, maybe there is nobody upstairs from Frank Shaw, but say, can you please stop talking like that? Take down that tweet. You look like a jerk.
Yeah.
Dude, to get to the point of what they're saying behind their juvenility, is it wrong to be using the patents as weapons metaphor? It seems like that is what they're doing, and that's what leads to license agreements.
Well, only in the sense that, all business is, a fight, basically. If you're trying to outsell somebody, you're going to use whatever weapon you've got to try and, outsell somebody.
Right.
And so only in the sense that all business is war, I guess, can you really, I guess it's kind of effective in that sense. What I'm kind of interested in is how much those royalties are going to amount to, because there must surely be a point where the royalties that Microsoft gets from Android is worth more to them than the actual money they get from Windows Phone.
yeah, they
we're
make
surely
$5
approaching that
a phone from HTC. We don't know what the terms are of the LG deal, but
Right.
it would
That's a
assume
lot of
it'd be
money.
similar.
They
yeah.
have so many deals. HTC, Winstron, Onkyo, Velocity Micro,
Samsung.
Acer, ViewSonic, Samsung, right? The number 1 smartphone maker and the number 2 smartphone maker, LG. So they're just raking it in. I mean, this is good for them, I guess. Good money, good revenue stream, but
I think. Are you saying that they should just stop making phones, just license stuff? I mean,
Well, no, because obviously, Windows Phone is something that they hope is going to grow. But it feels like if you're talking about Microsoft's strength in mobile, there's a lot of talk about well, Microsoft's got Windows Phone and it's not really going anywhere. And it's yeah, but if you own a massive chunk of the number 2 competitor, which effectively they do right now, that's actually a pretty good fallback position.
you're
if
talking about Nokia, right?
Well, if you're Microsoft, if you're okay, so even if Windows Phone doesn't go anywhere, we're going to get enormous revenues for the next X number of years off the guys that actually win. That's not a bad position to be in.
No, not at all, especially if Windows Phone ends up taking off, and I still think that 2012 might be a good year for them. I mean, they've got some momentum. The folks that have had a chance to play with the limited number, but Windows phones that are out there,
Like the
really
Nokia
like
Lumia
them.
900.
Like that. We took a look at that the
Yeah,
other night.
HTC
It's
Titan
really
2.
nice.
Well, the
Nokia
Lumia
really
won the
nice.
best of CES, right?
It
for
won
phones.
in the
so
cell phone
they've got to be
category,
doing
right.
something, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if Microsoft would even have slam campaigns against Android with Windows Phone, considering they're making all the money on Android phones. Will they ever say our phones are better than Android, but you should buy them
Well,
too?
they probably
buy
make more money when people buy a Windows
Yeah.
phone than when they buy an Android phone.
But I have to say, it's quite the sort of, the slight juvenility or the kind of aggressiveness of Microsoft in this sense. You do kind of get the impression that Microsoft is really kind of gearing up for a big push on this. Microsoft has been sort of, back in the 90s when they were rolling out Windows, they were perceived as this big sort of monolith, and they were really aggressive, and they were just any tactic in the world to get market share. And they kind of sort of fizzled out, and there was a feeling over the last decade that they'd kind of mellowed,
Gotten
right,
soft,
in their old age,
yeah.
soft.
The
And it
kinder,
kind of
gentler
feels like
Microsoft.
Ballmer's jacking it back up again, really trying to bring that sense of kind of hardcore nastiness back to Microsoft.
Developers. He'll be out there
Maybe it's
chatting phones now.
Patent lawyers, patent lawyers, patent lawyers, patent lawyers.
Patent lawyers. All right.
We do it all for you, patent lawyers.
Moving on to a rather dramatic tech story happening in China at Foxconn's Wuhan plant. New York Times reports that there was an 8-hour standoff. 150 employees at Foxconn threatened to jump off a roof if they didn't get better pay. This wasn't so much about the working conditions, although they were also complaining that the Wuhan plant was more difficult to work in than where they had been transferred from. Foxconn, if you don't know, makes products for all kinds of devices. You probably have Foxconn parts in your house if you have any kind of electronics at all. Microsoft investigated, found the dispute was unrelated to working conditions and stemmed from staffing assignments and transfer policies. And an anonymous Foxconn employee told the New York Times that the dispute actually stemmed from the company failing to deliver on a promised wage increase for workers transferring from the company's Shenzhen campus. And that's the one that they said was easier to work at.
Yeah, extremely disturbing. I mean, you hear about worker strikes, union strikes, these sorts of things, but you don't usually hear about 150 people saying, we're going to jump off this roof and possibly kill ourselves if we don't get higher wages.
And of course, Foxconn has come under accusations of unsafe working conditions. There have been suicides amongst the employees there, and a lot of discussion about whether that is suicide is because it's such a large company that's going to happen, or it's because it's a horrible place to work.
Yeah, I think it's it feels a little bit disturbing. Like, I think, although, you know, Foxconn obviously makes products for a lot of people, and, you know, Apple and Microsoft and Amazon, as you say, like a lot of stuff is made by Foxconn for a lot of people. It does kind of bring up this issue, like, how comfortable do we feel using all this stuff when it's created in such kind of crazy conditions? It felt like we had I guess back in the 90s, like, there was the whole business over like Nike and like using third world child labor and that kind of thing, and we kind of stopped that through this kind of like public outcry. And I wonder sort of how long Foxconn can continue in its sort of current vein, when it seems like every couple of months there's a new story about Foxconn doing something. And like, if you're Apple and Microsoft and Amazon, you really don't want to be associated with that. So it seems like, you know, how long is it going to be before something changes?
Yeah, and Apple has pressed them to change before as well.
It's also, as Tom said, there are so many people who work at Foxconn. It's a little bit of a case of numbers. Sometimes these things happen, and what is actually relatively a small number of people given the size of the company, and they have a variety of different branches. But these are also people, many of them, who never actually leave the campus because they live there too. So that sort of, it's a working condition that almost feels more like a government.
Yeah.
So
45 of the 150 employees have not returned to work yet. Verge reporting it that they've resigned. New York Times doesn't make it clear, but so it's mostly resolved, but possibly not entirely
Not
resolved.
in a great way either.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, without which we could not do our coverage from CES 2012, Squarespace.com. Fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog, folks. If you're looking at all this gadget coverage this week and thinking maybe you would like to start a gadget blog, or maybe you just have opinions about the stories in the tech news, Squarespace is a great place to get started, because you don't need to know anything about CSS or HTML. If you do, that's fine. You can actually take advantage of that knowledge, but they have design templates in there that make it super easy to start up a website, and you can do it absolutely free. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to squarespace.com right now and put in the name of the blog you want to create it, and start designing. Start choosing a template, picking some colors, writing some posts. You don't have to have a credit card to try it out. You just make the blog, it's up, and once the free trial is done, if you decide to keep the service, if you want that reliability of Squarespace's servers behind you, you can get 30% off your first 3 months when you use the offer code TNT1. That's offer code TNT1, 30% off your first 3 months. But don't even worry about that. Just go try it out right now, squarespace.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Well, it's a day of squabbles. We've got another one going on. This one not directly at each other, but ARM Holdings CEO Warren East. ARM Holdings, by the way, are the company that make the ARM design, and then chip makers actually go and make the chips, unlike Intel, which makes the design and makes the chip. Warren East, the CEO of ARM Holdings, told Reuters that Intel's mobile chips are good enough. He said, are they ever going to be leaders in power efficiency? No, of course not. But they have a lot more to offer. That's nice of him to say. He also said, this is the one that really got me, Google's Android is flavor of the month, flavor of the year, and we certainly want to be a part of the Google success, but there is a space for Microsoft, and we very much want to be a part of that success too.
There's a space for Microsoft. Yeah, it seems like a really damning with faint praise kind of thing. It's like, yeah, so Google is like taking over the world, and it's like Google is flavor of the month, which is on the one hand is like a really backhanded compliment.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
sounds like an insult.
But there's space for Microsoft too, and it's like, yeah, there probably is space for like the world's #1 operating system manufacturer, like somewhere in the mobile world. It just seems like a really odd thing to say, particularly when. Like the big announcement of last year's CES was this massive thing about Windows being on ARM, and that whole Windows on ARM has really opened up the ARM world and really, given lots of new opportunities to ARM. And so it feels a little bit like bad form to then sort of trash talk it on the next year's CES. Now you've got a little bit of gumption.
I kind of like this trash talking. I mean, if you're going to do this, you got Intel. Look, Intel. Remember Intel and AMD? They used to have a big fight for a while, and then there would be Apple and Intel as well, because they would say our PowerPC chips are faster than Intel's, and it's kind of fun to see this every now and then. I think ARM obviously is a bit scared. They don't want to lose their place in smartphones and tablets. Let's be serious here. That's a very important thing for them, because otherwise, what does everyone remember ARM 10 years ago? No. Everyone knows now that, okay, you can have an ARM processor from so many different companies. They're really safe in this case because they license the technology out. So Samsung can license it, Apple licenses it. A lot of companies do this. And so for them to just kind of trash Intel on power efficiency, that's true. They've sucked at that. Intel has never been really good at being a mobile kind of thing. They've gotten better with laptops, but phones... They got Motorola. I guess we're going to see how that works out throughout the year, and if people want to move over there. But smack and talking Google too, I think that's a little stupid.
All of this, of course, is in response to Intel making a push and announcing that Atom processors would be in 2 phones, one from Motorola, one from Lenovo. Anantech went and did some benchmarks on the CES show floor, the Atom Z2460 Medfield, running on a reference design, so not on an actual current phone, but they put it up against other phones like the Apple iPhone, the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. They found that not only did the Medfield run faster in the browser benchmark, but it also had the best performance on the SunSpider JavaScript benchmark. And it was running Gingerbread. It was up against Samsung Galaxy Nexus, which was running Ice Cream Sandwich, and it still outperformed it.
Yeah, Intel has been slow to mobile. Like really, really, really slow, but it does seem like they're now catching up. They're putting a lot of effort into it, and a lot of stuff that they're doing is now kind of like mobile first and desktop second. So it seems it would be not unexpected for Intel to start catching up and start presenting mobile designs that are really going to kick some butt. I think it was interesting what you were saying, Iyaz, about it used to be we had this smack talk all the time between Intel and AMD. How much have you read about AMD in the mobile space in the last 18 months, 2 years? They're nowhere. And so it's really coming down to a 2-horse race between ARM and Intel.
And there's no
and in that sort of circumstance, you can expect a little bit of banter, right?
And there's no doubt that Intel can do serious processing. I mean,
right.
The benchmarks, of course, they're going to look great. The problem has always been the power issue. So the fact that they can outperform other chips, the question is how long can it outperform? Because if you only have 2 hours of battery life with an LTE phone anyway, then you add this chip. What are you down to? Maybe 1 hour? That's not an experience a lot of people want.
Yeah.
Well, this is, to be fair, the Medfield is a new chip that isn't actually released. It's in a reference design, and you're putting it up against chips that have been out, chip designs that have been out for a while. So when the Cortex A15 design comes out, it may outperform the Atom Medfield, and it actually may not only outperform it, but get better battery and better power consumption. In fact, it will. That's one thing that the Atom didn't do well here was power consumption.
Right, but the one thing that Intel's got, and if you were thinking like who's going to do well over the next couple of years between ARM and Intel, the one thing that Intel has got is this ability to kind of have like an end-to-end process. Because they fab it themselves and they've got that technology themselves, they can iterate and they can move to new design processes and use sort of micron levels much quicker than anybody else. And that even though that's why they've been able to catch up, is because they can really integrate that whole design and fabrication piece, whereas ARM is just designing it for somebody else to manufacture. And honestly, Intel's probably one of the best manufacturers, well, if not the best chip manufacturer in the world. So if you've got that as a competitive advantage, you've got to figure that Intel's going to be catching up pretty soon.
Just out of brute force eventually.
Right.
Maybe, yeah. On to Facebook launching their own turntable.fm.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is this thing called? Is it just
Listen
the
with
social
friends.
Listen with
music?
friends.
Listen with, of course.
It's basically built on top of Facebook chat. So let's say you're logged on, which you can of course toggle on and off in Facebook, and I am too, there'll be a little music note next to your name. I can hover over your name and see actually what you're specifically listening to if you've already set up either Spotify or Rdio apps within Facebook, because that's the only two music services that Facebook is using, at least for now. At that point, I can listen in on what you're listening to, and then of course we can have a conversation about what we're both listening to at the same time. What's cool though is that up to 50 people can be listening to the same song, and one person can act as a DJ, which is very Turntable FM-esque. We haven't talked about Turntable on this show in a long time, but it was talk about flavor of the month about 6 months ago. It was all anybody was talking about, and it's a really good feature for Facebook to have because of their huge user base.
But it kind of feels a little bit like Google Plus has got like the Google Hangouts where you can like watch videos on YouTube with your friends. It feels like just like the audio version of that. Or am I like missing something?
Well, I guess, I mean, that's true of Turntable FM too.
Right, that's also true.
Which I have found
Google Hangouts,
fun.
Google Plus Hangouts sort of requires you to participate. This
Right,
just
this
requires,
doesn't.
you know, all you'd have to do is, I like the song, me too, and then get back to whatever you were doing.
Am I the only one who doesn't
less
get?
invasive.
Am I the only one who doesn't get this? I mean, is this something you want to do with
Well, you have to have
people?
friends.
Do you,
Okay,
do you
let's
like,
imagine.
Oh,
Let's
yes.
imagine. Let's
Do you
imagine
like
my
listening
friends.
to music?
I love listening to music. Yes.
Would you, if I was like, Iyaz, this is such a good song, well,
Well,
I
you
would
would
know who
just-
sang it
it would
because I
be
have the
on-
information.
You'd be sitting
but
in the office right next to him. So
Well, I mean, it would show up.
we don't talk to each other in real
It would
life.
show up only in the IRC. If it shows up on your wall or in your feed or on that thing on the right side, wherever it shows up on, that you're listening to a track, why do I have to listen at the exact same time? Can I just listen to
Well,
it
you
whenever
don't.
I want?
But this is also, it's like this sort of thing where if two people are sitting next to each other with two screens, you know, watching the same movie at the same time, and you kind of, there's little visual cues where like, ha ha, you kind of laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a conversation going on because you're listening to the same song at the exact same time.
is an asynchronous party really a party, or is
No.
it just two people
Well,
pretending?
you know, I'm actually now
Sad
I think of the use case on this one. It would be very nice to do this with mobile phones. So you only have earphones in, because then you don't want to like, here's my earbud. You know, it's a little awkward. You could be like, listen to the same song right now.
Well, you know what I've always
That is
thought would
romantic.
be great is if, and this is actually would be possible now with Facebook Chat with this new integration of music is, let's say you're running partners, but you don't want to talk because you're running. You know, you got to keep your breath, but you want to listen to the same song at the same time, so you kind of get this groove. Like, yeah, now we're gonna listen to the Rocky theme or whatever you like running to. I can see different uses for this in mobile that make it more fun.
I probably
Rocky theme is really good to run to. Okay, everyone, roll your eyes.
Chat room is just going
Don't
nuts.
knock it till you try it.
Who would roll your eyes to that?
it's a classic, ladies and gentlemen.
He won. Okay.
How do
Eventually.
you think he won? Let's take a let's get into our last story here. CES press conference. CEA's president and CEO Gary Shapiro appeared alongside Representative Darrell Issa and Senator Ron Wyden, and all three voiced their opposition to SOPA and the Protect IP Act, saying, I think it was Issa who said, there are no amendments that would make these bills acceptable, putting down a hard line. Issa is chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, which will hold hearings on SOPA and PIPA starting on January 18th to present, and he is going to present what he calls a more balanced testimony about the impact of the two pieces of legislation. Also on January 17th, he's going to introduce an alternative to the acts called the Online Protection and Enforcement of Digital Trade Act. We talked about that before, the Open Act, sponsored by Wyden in the Senate. A lot of SOPA moves going on here. Representative Jared Polis of Colorado posted on a gaming message board encouraging gamers to oppose SOPA. Jimmy Wales is considering joining Reddit in the anti-SOPA blackout on January 18th. He's discussing that with the Wikipedia community, whether they should do that. And finally, an odd one. Comcast is one of those companies that supports SOPA. They just deployed DNSSEC across their internet service, which is great. That's a good move for Comcast. Well done. They also admitted that DNSSEC is, quote, technically incompatible with DNS redirect tools. And if you don't know, if you don't remember, SOPA is all about implementing DNS redirects if a complaint is made against someone for being a pirating website. Comcast, a supporter of SOPA, is saying, actually, we couldn't fulfill the terms of this bill even if it did pass.
That's kind of like a really weird one, because like if you knew, like if you're really supporting SOPA, why would you go to the effort? And it's a lot of effort to deploy like DNSSEC across your entire like network. Like, why would you do that?
Because the engineers working on your network know that you need DNSSEC. They're like, we don't care about SOPA or not.
Yeah.
And
probably the
want to
engineers
make a more secure domain name system.
And probably the engineers don't want SOPA anyway because they're all tech geeks like us.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's also important to note here that the CEA is throwing their weight into the ring. We've seen a lot of companies and organizations come in on the side of SOPA. Very few big organizations weighing in anti-SOPA. So CEA is providing a little bit of weight. They are a lobbyist organization,
right.
The Consumer Electronics Association, so they know how this game is played. The problem for anti-SOPA parties is that they're very inexperienced at the lobbying effort. Let's move on to the news fuse. Google's Matthias Duarte announced today in The Verge trailer that Ice Cream Sandwich OS will be the first Android software to institute design standards for developers. Android design will be found at developer.android.com/design and will be an online repository for the UI guidelines and blueprints for version 4.0. Now, this is standards that are guidelines, not mandates. But Google hopes that manufacturers will just do the right thing and adopt them.
Here at CES, FCC Chairman Julius Genachowski said he wanted Congress to offer incentive auctions to free up spectrum for wireless use. However, plenty of people were more focused on Genachowski's using a Samsung Galaxy 8.9 for his notes. Hey, look at that. Normally he uses an iPad, but called his Android adventure a seamless experience.
According to ComScore, Bing is now the #2 search engine in the United States, moving past Yahoo. Bing has 15.1% in the U.S., but it also powers Yahoo Search, which is down to 14%. Meanwhile, Google is laughing at them all, sitting pretty at #1 with 65.9%.
Antitrust. Speaking to Pocket Lint, Windows PR Director Janelle Poole suggested that Windows 8 will likely be available in October. Here's the actual quote. She said, Windows releases come around about every 3 years, and this year will be 3 years in October since we launched Windows 7. So I think that's a good guideline to consider. And then she winked really prominently. Microsoft has yet to make an official announcement, so we know this is not an official announcement, and it's a very roundabout way of saying we think October, but we don't want to say anything because this could totally slip.
But wink.
It's October.
A Dutch court has ordered 2 ISPs to block the Pirate Bay from their services. If the 2 don't comply, they'll be subject to a fine of 10,000 euros per day. The ISPs were given 10 working days to make this happen, but one has already said it will appeal.
6 hotel companies are banding together to create a new joint venture called RoomKey, which is set to compete with other hotel deal sites like Priceline. The joint venture includes Hilton, Marriott, and Wyndham hotels. The site has a very straightforward interface asking you to enter in the usual travel information, but it is in beta.
Amazon released a new piece of Windows software that allows you to right-click to send files and web pages to a Kindle. The application also installs a virtual printer, so you can print to your Kindle. That's kind of cool. Amazon said an OS X version will be coming soon.
YouTube head of content Robert Kinkle announced some of the content partners that is already lined up, including Marvel Comics legend Stan Lee, Felicia Day, and Rainn Wilson of The Office fame. YouTube will not be guiding the program content, but does have some program quality requirements.
Verizon Associate Director of Device Marketing Kenneth Lampron told CNN at CES that Verizon will no longer accept any smart device without LTE. Kevin Pritchard at GigaOM points out that if there were ever indirect information that the iPhone 5 will have LTE, then this is it. There we go.
That seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Well, if Verizon says we're not going to have any more phones without LTE, you know Verizon's going to put out the next iPhone.
Or it just won't be on.
Or it just won't be on Verizon. Yeah. Maybe it's not really gone that well for them.
That's a really good point. Apple will be like, yeah, you're taking this without LTE, sorry.
Yeah.
We don't care what you say.
Yeah.
On to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Ollie makes your retweets smell like spearmint, is the headline on The Verge. The Foundry is a division of ad agency Mint Digital. They created the white box, which connects by USB to your computer and translate any notifications from your social networks into any scent you like.
This is a Kickstarter project, so you can try to back this if you want. Would you want to smell tweets?
I've never really sat at my computer and thought, you know what this is really missing? You know what's missing from my digital life experience? Like, smelly tweets.
At first I was like, spearmint? Why spearmint? That's like my least favorite mint. But if it can be whatever you want it to be, this sounds very gimmicky and fad-ish, but it would be a fun experiment. I choose creamsicle
It's
for
less
my tweets.
well, and it's less invasive than a ding, ding.
Is it really?
It starts to get minty, and you realize, oh, there's some tweets coming in.
Are you
I
like,
can smell them on the horizon.
That smells like an @reply.
you use like the cheap cologne smell of your first boyfriend, and so you're just like sobbing all day.
That's Facebook, isn't it? Facebook is your cheap old boyfriend cologne.
That's your Drakkar.
Smells like hashtags in here.
I want one for that new car smell. If they could do that, could they when you're searching like Autoblog or something, give us the new car smell?
That's easy.
I would just go with lavender to relax.
If you're interested,
Chamomile. I'm tired.
The project is on, as we said, it's on Kickstarter, and you can get a final product for $50 if you donate to the Kickstarter project. $75 gets you a base station and an additional scent tray, and 20 people who donate $150 will receive a 3D printed prototype with a custom face design. So check it out, the Ollie. Why called the Ollie?
Factory.
Yeah.
I like CR1 in the chat room says, my tweets smell like unicorns.
What does that smell like?
Horses,
Manure?
actually.
I like to light my tweets.
All right.
On to our sponsor. Let's put a
No
little
relation
space
to unicorns.
Yeah.
between that last comment. I want to thank Ford for sponsoring our CES 2012 coverage. This episode brought to you by Ford, featuring all electric and hybrid electric technologies. Two new technologies we've been talking about here at CES. One, the 2012 Ford Focus Electric, which we've known about for a while. The other, the 2013 C-Max Energy Plug-in Hybrid, which they announced right here at CES. Both models make use of regenerative braking that can capture back over 90% of the kinetic energy you lose. They include a unique Sync with My Ford Touch EV feature. Suite of driver information systems, onboard and offboard, helps you manage the recharge process, determine the most eco-friendly driving route so you save energy, remotely control the vehicle charge and preconditioning settings. So if you forgot to change the settings while you're at the office, you can do it from your phone, monitor battery state of the charge, maximize energy efficiency, all kinds of good stuff that you can do over your mobile smartphone app using Sync with My Ford Touch. And they also fully charge in 3 to 4 hours through a 240-volt home charging station. The Leviton charging station recommended by Ford are available through your dealer. The 2012 Ford Focus Electric, all-electric vehicle, no gas engine in there at all. Gets you into those high-occupancy vehicle lanes in some states, and saves you money and saves the environment too. It's a lithium-ion battery. New battery technology enables a topping off charge without reducing the lifespan of the battery. That's the 2012 Ford Focus Electric, available for reservations right now, and the 2013 Ford C-Max Energy Plug-in Hybrid, that's coming fall 2013. Specifications are subject to change with production vehicles, but check out all the details at Ford.com/technology. On to the calendar.
On this day, back in 1992, the HAL 9000 was born at Urbana, Illinois. HAL, of course, is the fictional supercomputer who malfunctions and gives Dave a really hard time in 2001 Space Odyssey. It's actually a point of contention. The original book that the movie was based on says 1997.
Right. He has two birthdays.
Yeah, so we're celebrating both of them today. Happy birthday, HAL 9000. I'm sorry how it all ended for you. The Phone 4S comes to China.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
You're dead.
I can't
You're not
do
HAL.
that right now.
It's pretty good, though. The iPhone 4S is coming to China tomorrow. It's a big opening for the iPhone, January 13th, as well as 21 other countries. Some including Ecuador, Ivory Coast, Jamaica, Niger, a lot of African countries, as well as South American as well.
Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got an email from Rich in lovely Cleveland. Always good to hear from Rich. He says, per Sanjay Jha's comments on Android differentiation, Sanjay Jha from Motorola, the problem with Android phone manufacturers is that their customers are the carriers, not consumers. which is why we get slow to little updating and skinned Android experiences. The way you could incorporate stock Android is to enable either a separate mode when you first activate the phone, or to provide ROMs online with an open bootloader so that the geeks that want stock Android have that option, but ordinary consumers can still have the wonderful world of TouchWiz, HTC Sense, and Moto Blur available to them should they want it. That way the manufacturers and carriers can differentiate in the store, but offer consumers choice. Alas, it seems the myopic vision of Mr. Jha won't let this happen.
Well, it seems to me that if geeks really, really, really want the stock Android experience, they could just buy a Nexus, right?
Well, should they be forced to have to go to that particular piece of hardware? Because there's other options. There's so many different devices out there, and if you want a keyboard, the Nexus is not going to be something for you there.
That's true, and I mean, I think it's interesting what he's saying about, you know, how the customers for the phone manufacturers are carriers. Because the one thing that Apple kind of did differently was always keep consumer like number one, like consumer is the customer.
Yep.
And I think, you know, if you have to say, they sort of said stuff the carriers to a certain degree, and look at how that's worked out for them. So maybe the Android guys need to think a little bit differently.
I see this over and over, which is if you value the consumers first, you usually do well. If you come up with excuses why you can't value the consumers first, as Mr. Jha was doing yesterday, you don't end up doing as well. That doesn't mean you'll fail, but you're not maximizing your opportunity, in my opinion.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Next email from Jake Cattrall in the UK. Dear TNT, when Sarah mentioned the Boxy Live TV dongle was at CES, Simon Diggle mistakenly presumed it would work outside of the US. Although a customer can go to the Boxy Box store and pre-order a Live TV dongle from outside the US, which I think is very naughty, it actually will not work outside the US or Canada initially. Before everybody outside of those two countries rushes out to buy one, I think they should know this first. Then he points to a source at Boxy's blog.
Aha, that's too bad for Simon and for you, Will.
Sucks to be me.
Yeah, it's all
on
terrible.
so many levels.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible to be you right now.
Yeah,
You've had an awful week, haven't
Crappy
you?
life. Better luck next time.
All right. It was a late night for Will, okay? Everybody be nice to him. That's it for this edition of Tech News Today. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. Don't forget, except during the blackout next Wednesday, I suppose, you can always go to our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, and suggest stories for us to report on during the show, comment on during the show, and vote on the stories that other people have submitted to say, oh, yeah, I would like to hear them talk about that. Go to technewstoday.reddit.com. Will Harris, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on the success of Channel Flip. And tell people about that and where they can find you online.
Cool. So you can go and check out all our shows at youtube.com/channelflip or channelflip.com or at channelflip on Twitter. You can catch me at Will Harris on Twitter, following these guys reverently every day. And thanks very much for having me. It's always fantastic to come out to CES. You guys have done an amazing job putting on your coverage every day, been working your amazing little butts off. So and congrats, you know, hopefully on a Web Award today.
Well, it's an honor just to be nominated.
That's what losers say.
Is what I I was about to say that's what I always say.
Come back tomorrow, Merritt.
Both statements.
Sorry.
Thanks everybody for watching. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us tnt@twit.tv or give us a call, leave us a voicemail. 260-TNT-SHOW is the voicemail number. We will be back tomorrow with our last CES show from here at CES 2012. Patrick Norton joins us for that. We'll
Early,
see you then.
1:30 live.